This is Randy Hopkins, and this is yet a short episode of Religion Schmilligion. And today's topic is Hurricane Mathew. This is Friday, October 7th, 2016. I'm sitting here right now off my property out towards the river. It's semi-calm right now here in Ohio. It's pretty nice out I'd say around maybe 70 degrees, 69 degrees right now. It's starting to get a little wind, but I don't think it's after, or as far as anything of the hurricane. Not yet anyway, not this far inland. But I have to excuse some of the background noise because there's a road about 200 yards, I'm saying, off to the east of me, and so you might hear some traffic in the background here and there, but I can deal with that. Anyway, again, I say that today's topic is Hurricane Mathew, and kind of funny they use Matthew because I guess being a biblical name, I mean, it's not always a biblical name, but Matthew, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, as far as being one of the four Gospels. But it's funny because that's part of my topic today, as far as God and natural disasters, weather wise. I mean, it comes to hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, earthquakes, you name it, which are all natural phenomena. Anyway, said enjoying me a beer today. When I'm sitting here, that's what I do. I'm a country boy from Ohio, and I sit here and I babble and talk about different issues and normally about religion or issues I'm seeing that surround religion. Continuing on now, and so far right now in reports has been one life. I mean already one person killed. I'm saying in this already, and it's just now starting to reach and saying that the outskirts of southeastern Georgia and the Carolinas. Now you hear. Now so far this might not be like anything like Katrina was. They're saying it could be up to a factor 5, and could reach inland. I'm saying as far as Ohio, maybe not. But my point is that people want to pray. About the people in the sand that are killed, for families who have loved ones they've lost in sand in natural disasters, mainly these big hurricanes, tsunamis, earthquakes, and you see the aftermath of the sand of all the stuff that happens, and people still want to sit back, and say, "I'll pray for you. I'll pray for the families," And my point to that is, it's a nice sentiment, but what does it do? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, what does prayer do for these people? You can pray all you want to, and that doesn't keep them saying these things from happening. That doesn't keep them saying, that hurricane from wiping out, thousands of homes, or killing tens of people or hundreds of people. In some cases, I'm saying, thousands of people. And, I've heard in church before, I've heard different preachers say, that's because God is punishing those people. God's punishing them, for not living up to God's expectations. I'm saying, for living in sin, for being separated from God, and to be, and it's a punishment. It's God's wrath coming down upon us, because we're not, living the right way in this country, or certain areas. Back in Katrina, I heard people say, well, the people, I'm saying, in Louisiana, I'm saying, got punished because, that whole area, I'm saying, of Louisiana, I'm saying, got destroyed or partially destroyed because God's wrath was coming down upon them because they practiced, I'm saying, voodoo and this and that, whatever, I'm saying, because of Mardi Gras and whatever, because they're not in sync with God, So they're being punished, And so right now, it makes me wonder if the men, women, and children, in the cities of Jacksonville, Miami, Orlando, St. Petersburg, Tallahassee, and Fort Lauderdale, if all the people in these cities I just mentioned, I'm saying, are being attacked possibly because they're all sinners, because they're all heathens, they're all evil, and then the people, I'm saying, in Georgia and in the Carolinas, I'm saying, that have damage done, if there's any lives lost or property lost, some people, I'm saying, have their whole entire life savings, I'm saying, in their property, and maybe can't afford, I'm saying, to have a homeowner's insurance or whatever, and everything's just gone, Yes, I'm sure that this all-powerful, almighty, omnipotent God, I'm saying, needs to do this, to use weather, I'm saying, to hurt people, to kill people, to cause this type of devastation, on people. Does that mean that all the people, I'm saying, that live in the more the western part of the United States, I'm saying, more the northwestern or central part of the United States, are good people because they never get the damage from hurricanes and tsunamis and whatever, I'm saying? Yes, there's an occasional earthquake here and there, or an occasional bad, powerful thunderstorm that does some damage, some high winds, that does some, a little bit of damage here and there, a few tornadoes here and there, but nothing like a major category 5 or 6, hurricane, right? So that must mean that God, is watching out for the people, I'm saying, in the central part of America, in other parts of the world, I'm saying, that are hundreds and hundreds of miles, thousands of miles from the coastline, Yes, God, I'm saying, has a blanket of shielding, of protection over them, because they're all worthy of Him and living their lives, sin-free, and don't deserve, I'm saying, this kind of punishment. But the rest of them do. It's coastal sin, people. It's coastal sin is what it is. And see, coastal sin, the Gulf Coast, I'm saying, man, it's just full of fucking heathens, horrible, terrible people. It's just full of non-believing atheists and homosexuals and fornicators and drunkards and whatever. Yes, they all deserve to die. I'm saying, it's us good people here in Ohio, and people up in Michigan, and people over in maybe in Wyoming, Utah, and all of them. I'm saying, they're okay. Of course, that's ridiculous, I'm saying, but there's people out there, I'm saying, that actually say that they're being punished, and God, because my point also is that Christians, I'm saying, like to say that God is in control. God is in control. God is omnipotent. God is all-powerful. God is omnipresent. God's in control. God has a plan, and nothing happens, I'm saying, without God's pre-knowledge or God's authority over that situation. If that's the truth, I'm saying that everything that happens with natural disasters is God's fault. God, either allows it to happen or He causes it to happen directly. So, I say again, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that God loves us and that God, I'm saying, is watching out for us, I'm saying, because I'm sure there's a lot of Christians, I'm saying that are Bible thumping, Bible believing, church going Christians. I'm saying that that pray and they fast and they, I'm sure that a lot of them people, I'm saying, that have been killed in these disasters over the years also. I mean, if God, the old saying was kill them all and let God sort them out. Well, if God's the one doing the killing, then you would think that he could be sorting the motherfuckers out as he does the killing. But it seems, that God is not prejudiced at all, I'm saying, about who he kills with these disasters. Right? So, I get sick of hearing people say that I'll pray for these people. I'll pray that they're safe. I'll pray. My prayers are with you, And it's obvious I'm saying that doesn't do anything. It's a good sentiment, and it means I'm seeing someone, cares about somebody, is thinking about somebody. It's a good sentiment, but it doesn't prove anything. It doesn't do anything for that person. Praying for a person, I'm saying, that is in the hospital, and saying, hooked up to a machine to keep them alive, or is in intensive care, for severe injuries, due to a natural disaster like a hurricane. Praying for them is like praying for a cancer patient, I'm saying, that's in the last stages of cancer and is dying, and there's nothing anyone can do for them, and you're praying for them, and that's the power of prayer, zip. And people say, well, you're being sarcastic, and you're being heartless, and you're being an asshole because you're not, showing compassion or for these people. Yes, I have compassion for them. I have plenty of compassion for these people. But praying for them, I'm saying, is not the answer. Praying for them, I'm saying, does not help them. Does not help their families. Doesn't bring their houses back. Doesn't bring their loved ones back. Doesn't bring back, I'm saying, things that are sentimental. I'm saying, like pictures and heirlooms that were passed down from generation to generation to family that were destroyed. Prayer, I'm saying, doesn't bring that stuff back. And that's my point. To all the people out there, I'm saying, that are going through this right now, I'm saying, best wishes for you, and I hope you're safe. And I hope, I'm saying, that you get out of there in time, or that you're not hit, all that hard, and that it'll pass over, and and you're okay, But I won't say I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to say that I hope you the best. I wish you the best, and that's all I can do. And if there's any relief efforts, I'm saying, that are met after this disaster, it's human beings. It's compassionate human beings, I'm saying, that actually did something about it, trying to help, not talking to an invisible, man in the sky. I mean, talking to your invisible friend is not going to bring this stuff back. Is not going to protect somebody. It's just that simple. People, get comfort out of saying, I'll pray for you, and comfort's fine, but again, in the end, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't do anything for us. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we are like ants. If you look at the universe, as big as it is, we are just little specks on a little speck of a little speck, I'm saying, of nothing, I'm saying, in this universe, And yes, life is special. I mean, life anywhere is special. I mean, we are special. But in the grand scheme of things, we are no, as far as in the universe, we are no more special, I'm saying, than an anthill. If there's a hard rain and there's like 2,000 or 3,000 ants in an anthill that drowned, I mean, no one thinks about that, right? I mean, no one's going, oh, the poor ants, all the poor little creatures, all the grasshoppers and the ants and the beetles and whatever. I'm saying, I mean, all the poor things I'm seeing just drowned to death. How terrible, how horrible. Oh, we'll pray for them. Because to us, in the grand scheme of things, they're nothing. I mean, you would stomp on an anthill without even knowing you did, I'm saying, and could care less. So, I mean, when you look at how small we are in the universe, I mean, a hurricane that happens naturally, I'm saying, hey, stars explode all the time. Without us knowing about it, some we do know about, and I'm saying, it doesn't affect us at all, so we don't care. Well, with weather, it's natural, it happens. It is not a God punishing us. It is not, any device or any, as far as a mind behind it that's going, like someone with a magnifying glass, in the sun, frying an ant or something, for pleasure. See, that's the God I'm saying that Christians believe in. That's the God I'm saying that religious people want to believe in. To say, well, you know what, we're just little piss ants, and God, I'm saying, is just basically, going to punish us, by sending these natural disasters, these events in God's control to punish us, to punish some of us and let the rest of us go, to make an example of us somehow, That is the fucktard douchebag God that Christians and Muslims want to believe in, But think about that, people. If in the grand scheme of things, all we are, I'm saying, is just little lab rats, I'm saying, to God to mess with, and make us run through this little maze, and if we don't turn the right direction or don't do what He says, then He's going to pull out that magnifying glass on us and fry our ass, and drown us or whatever, and make thousands of people suffer. I'm saying, because of so. If this is kind of God I'm saying you want to worship, then you're a douche yourself, really. I'm saying, because you yourself, I'm saying, believers out there, believers watching this, you yourself, I'm saying, would not do that to your own children, would not do that to your neighbors. Would you speak of peace. You say how peaceful Jesus is, how much of a pacifist Jesus is, and how much He loves us. But yet you want to sit back and say that God is the cause of these things. God's in control and is just showing His wrath and making an example of us. Really? Really? This is Randy Hopkins. And again, no apologies for what I said, because it's the truth. Not all Christians, I'm saying, speak this stuff and think this way, but the majority of you conservative motherfuckers out there do. It's the truth. But anyway, like it or not, that's how it is. I choose to believe in the saying that it's a natural process. I'm saying it's not a punishment or reward. It's just a natural process. Shit happens. Weather happens. Like it or not, us human beings are not the most important thing on this planet. Oh, I might have burst some bubbles out there, I'm saying, but we're not, the most important or the only important thing, I'm saying, on this planet. Things happen. Climate change happens. People die. Again, I feel bad for the stuff that happens, but I don't blame God for it, and I don't thank God for it like some douchebags do to get rid of the heathens, But anyway, this is Randy Hopkins, and this was another short episode of Religion Schmeligion, and I'll be back again with some more babble. Peace and out.
I piss on your Jesus, I shit on your Mary! Shed light on the lies that have tortured so many.